Howdy, folks, and welcome to another episode of Stanley and the Seed Can. Today's topic is going to be on these less lethal firearms. I guess they're not firearms because they're below the 495 feet per second and low energy, all that good stuff. So they're non-controlled. Anyone can own one of these. You don't need a firearms license at all, and you can use it for whatever you see fit, as long as you're safe with it, I guess, and keep your targets in mind, and keep in mind as well that these things can actually hurt and cause severe damage to people or items. Like you could probably break a window in a car, or you could probably break a window in a house, or severely bruise somebody if they were to be hit with something like this. So this is the Assault Gun S2, and it's got a kind of an interesting little magazine here. So these use 68 caliber balls. So that's the same size as a paintball. It has so much pressure in this marking system. So this is where your CO2 would live here. This is the same firearm. It's just kind of taken apart so you can see the inside. It has so much pressure that comes out of the CO2 through the chamber there that it will typically break a paintball. Like it was burst in the barrel and then it will spray paint out in a kind of, not even a cool way. It just kind of makes a mess, and then it makes a big mess inside the barrel and you got to take it all apart and all that good stuff to clean it. So anyway, the way these magazines work is you can kind of see it goes in the bottom underneath the barrel there, clicks in, and then we have our standard mag release here, and it's a spring assist. It pops right out when we're done with that. And you can see here how it pushes up. The balls would travel through this and then get pushed up into the chamber here. Then this little spring guy that's hidden under here is retaining the ball in the chamber, I guess, area, so that when you shoot it, you're good to go. So one of the interesting features about this, so you can see here's a firearm, right? It says push safe. So this firearm's in the safe mode right now. So I can drop the mag, put it back in, drop the mag, put it back in. But now if I go to fire and I drop the mag, nothing happens. In fact, this little button just kind of jammed down. Well, I guess we got some action happening here. It moves forward like a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch, and but it's stuck. So what do? Well, I guess people like to there's a nice little gap right about here. So people will put their trusty knife or a screwdriver or whatever in there and just yank this out. And doing so causes a whole world of problems on the inside of the firearm. And if you recall, 2 seconds ago, when I had the firearm in safe, so push safe, click safe, and now I push the button, out comes the magazine with no issues. And conversely, if we try to be in fire mode and then try to put a magazine in, it doesn't go. So if we just start whacking and smashing on this thing, it's going to cause issues on the inside of the firearm again. So push safe, and then it clicks right in, no big deal, right? So this firearm has a little mechanical arm right about here. So this is the same thing. Just removed a bunch of screws so you can see the guts on the inside of it. And here's the magazine. And so it's got this big nasty hook right here. And that's there by design so that when the firearm is in the fire mode, theoretically some sort of a high stakes moment or something is going on when we're running this, and you don't want your magazine to get dislodged for any reason. So when you do that, when you set this to fire, it's a little bit janky here with all the parts exposed, but I can do it. You can see this little arm, this bent arm with this mating hook is going to move. It's going to move up and engage with this hook on the back of the magazine as I do that. So that's roughly your fire position. It's not super happy because it's missing the side of the firearm, but so now we can see this hook is engaged in here. So that was the issue that we were having before. When we had the firearm set to fire, and if we try to hit the mag release button, it's trying to get out, but it can't. So in this particular case, it just pivoted around that. But in this example here, it can't because it has the side housing. So if you start, we come back to this guy where it's kind of all locked together nicely, right? So push to fire, mag eject. So now we're in this position here. And if we start sticking screwdrivers and things in here to try to pry on this, what we're doing on the inside of the unit here is we are basically ripping and trying to shear this big hook off. And that is not good. And that's what that is going to do. And we've seen this from customer returns and things before. People were like, oh man, the thing doesn't work. And you sold me this piece of crap, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happens is you can see very clearly and very easily on the inside because this hook is just all bent, and it's kind of, depending on how hard you pull on it, this little hook thing will bend and buckle and all sorts of stuff, right? So this is what's happening. This seems to be like some sort of a glass-filled nylon material in the magazines, so it's pretty tough. And so this being a very thin little metal arm, that's our catch there. You can see it's about, I don't know, 50 thou maybe, 40 thou. It's going to bend and buckle and causes all sorts of problems, and we're going to see a big cut on there, and this is going to be all jammed and manky and everything else. And then conversely, on the other side, if we have the firearm in the fire mode, and then we try to slam in the magazine, so that's going to put us back in this position here. Just going to slide this up. Again, having the thing fully assembled makes this a lot easier. But yeah, there we go. So we got it in this mode here. So this little hook is up high. I don't know if you can see, but right here, the tip of this hook is sitting proud above the bottom of this face. So when I'm trying to put the magazine in, it's not going anywhere. It can't go. It's jamming. So if we just keep smacking it and hammering it in there, you're going to bend this. You're going to bend this. And when you try to slam it in on closing it in the fire mode, this little arm here already has some pretty sharp bends here and here. And so what it wants to do is it actually folds over this way inside, and it doesn't go all the way flat because that wouldn't probably be such an issue, but it still jams in there and causes all sorts of issues. So now you can't get this thing fully locked in, and it won't go in. And it's pretty easy to see when you open it up that that's what has happened here, is that someone has tried to have this thing in the fire mode and slam a magazine in when this catch was engaged. Will this function without this in there? So I don't know. I'm not going to tell you yes or no, but you should probably try it and find out if that's really an issue for you. But then you lose your kind of secondary redundant magazine catch, basically, is what this becomes, right? It's like an engaging magazine catch when you go to fire mode. Yeah, so the spring force, as we can see in this guy, when we go to push it, the magazine pops almost all the way out. And that has to do with the compression of this little spring right here. And you can probably change that or put a bigger spring in there if you wanted to just kind of launch right out and be gone. So yeah, that's a nice option there. And the way the mags retain with the standard mag catch is this detent here is actually spring loaded. I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but I can squish this in. So this is what is engaging and what is getting captured in this mating hole here. So when I tap the mag release, what I'm doing is pushing up a little pin here, which is going to then compress this into the side of the magazine, and then it allows it to slide free. So yeah, in a brief nutshell, that's how these things, how they work, how they come apart. There is a lot of little pins and springs and things on the inside of here that make this relatively unpleasant to put back together unless you've got lots of patience. But we can see if you were to take out these 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pop off this spring and such, which is kind of retaining things. And this spring here is the split of the actions go right through here. So this spring is kind of rides on top of that little boss, but that's fine. But if you take that out, all of this thing is going to pop out. This little pin here is going to go flying. This spring's going to go flying. This another pin here is going to go flying. The trigger will probably go. There's a big, you can kind of see it right there. There's a big coil spring that's working as our trigger spring there. So it'll go flying across the room, and you're probably going to lose something. This coil spring here is the trigger spring, and if you try to take this whole thing apart, you're probably going to lose something. Like the pieces just go flying everywhere unless you're kind of paying attention to exactly what's going on. As you can see, the housing is non-symmetrical. Like there's some springs here, this pin here, you kind of push it in at the end to hook this. This is your sear. So this is like a sear spring. So you hook that on at the end, but depending on which side of the pins are stuck more, it's just not fun. And there's really not that much to do in there unless you want to polish up your piston or something like that to get a little bit more, try to get a little bit more juice out of it or something. That's about the only reason you open it up, but it's not for the fainted heart for sure. It's there's lots of little parts that are going to fly everywhere, so make sure you're doing it on a clean spot and good to go. You see this one here has some tape on the outside. This is just like extra thick, heavy duty packing tape. And what it's doing is there's a little gap here on the side we can kind of see. It's a cutout in the presumably zinc or Zamex casting here. And there's a little hole here on the top. And that hole on the top protrudes right through the plastic of the housing. You can see it here. So what that's really for is if something was to happen and there's a ball stuck in the chamber area. So if it's kind of gone up here and it's being held in place by this little spring here, it's on both sides. The ball is going to be stuck up there, so you can't truly unload it all, right? Because you can take out the magazine, but you still have that one ball stuck there. So if you were to push a pin or some pen or whatever you got, a little dowel, a stick, toothpick, whatever, through this hole, right through the top of the casing here, it's going to go right down inside and it's going to knock that ball free, and then you can just kind of shake it out of the magazine too. But some people on the internet seem to indicate that this is a waste of air pressure that could be then applied to the ball when firing, because the air is blasting out of here a little bit and it's leaking out of there a little bit. So if you just put a little bit of tape on there, there's potential gains that could be made. You can't really put the tape on the outside of this housing because the pressure would just blow it right off, right? But inside here, it's pretty tight tolerance. Like it's not really going to be able to go anywhere. So maybe it might flex a little bit, but it's not going to burst all the way through. And if it does, you could put something else on there, like a little metal shim, like a, I don't know, 1.5 thou feeler gauge, something like that. Could be kind of bent and formed in around there. But yeah, that's kind of the inside of a Assault S2 pistol. And I just wanted to go over these kind of common things. So once again, make sure you don't change your magazines unless you are in safe. Don't try to rip it out if you're in fire mode, or don't try to put one in or take one out in fire mode. Just only do that in the safe mode. And that's why, because you're going to damage this little thing here, and we're going to know if you try to do a maintenance claim, I guess. But yeah, there you go. Thanks so much. It's like Grandma says, if you're not bleeding after working in the shop, you're not working hard enough.